Why is your checking account always gasping for air, even though you and your spouse make decent money? You both got promotions last year. You drive sensible cars. You buy your groceries at standard supermarkets. But every single Friday feels like a financial rescue mission. I know exactly what is draining you. It is the American childcare system. I sit in traffic on Interstate 95 every morning. My coffee is already cold in the cup holder. My corporate badge hangs heavy around my neck. I am exhausted before I even swipe into the building. I drop my daughter off at a building that looks like a colorful warehouse. I smile at the front desk worker. Then I drive to my cubicle to pretend I care about quarterly spreadsheets. Why do I do this? So I can afford to pay that exact same front desk worker. Meet Christine. Christine is a marketing manager making $85,000 a year. Her husband David makes $70,000 as an IT technician. They have a 2-year-old son named Leo. Christine feels guilty every time she hands Leo to a stranger at 7:30 in the morning, but she tells herself it is for his future. Let us look at the actual numbers. Let us strip away the emotional marketing of early childhood development. The daycare center in their suburb charges $2,400 a month. That is $28,800 a year. But wait, Christine does not pay that bill with pre-tax dollars. She pays that with net income, the money that actually hits her checking account. To take home $28,800, Christine has to earn about $39,000 gross. Almost half of her entire yearly salary goes just to the daycare center. Let us convert this into hours of human life. Christine earns about $40 an hour gross. She has to sit through 975 hours of corporate meetings, 975 hours of answering passive-aggressive emails, 975 hours away from her son, just to pay for the place that watches her son while she is answering those emails. If that number just punched you in the stomach, subscribe right now. Here we do not talk about miracle investments or crypto trends. We talk about stopping the financial fraud you commit against yourself every single day. Society sold Christine a massive lie, the lie of the dual-income power couple. HR departments call it work-life balance. They give you a flexible spending account for dependents. They smile and say, you can put $5,000 tax-free toward childcare. $5,000. That covers exactly 2 months of daycare for little Leo. What about the other 10 months? You are on your own. This is the convenience tax of modern parenting. You pay a massive premium just to have the privilege of remaining in the workforce. It is not just the government or the system. It is the silent inflation of diapers and wipes. It is the corporate daycare chains backed by private equity firms. They know you have absolutely no choice. If you pull your kid out, you lose your spot. The waiting lists in her city are 6 months long. Now let us talk about the Sam Vimes Boots theory. This is the math of why it costs more to be a financially stretched parent. Christine and David are living paycheck to paycheck because of this massive daycare bill. Because their cash flow is tight, they cannot buy groceries in bulk. They buy the small pack of diapers at the corner pharmacy because payday is Friday. That small pack costs 40% more per diaper than the bulk box at Costco. The daycare requires weekly payment on Wednesday. Christine has to use a credit card to bridge that 2-day gap. She pays a late fee to the daycare if the card declines. She pays interest to the credit card company every month. This is the poverty premium. The less breathing room you have, the more the banks and billing departments extract from you. Look at the daycare late pickup policy. They charge $1 per minute if you arrive after 6 in the evening. David gets stuck in traffic on the highway because of an accident. He is 20 minutes late. That is $20 he has to hand over immediately. He is literally paying a penalty for participating in the commuter economy. If you are getting angry at this math, leave a like. Do not suppress it. Anger is the very first step toward financial efficiency. Let us look at the commuter deficit. Christine spends $300 a month on gas. She spends $200 a month on work clothes and fast casual lunches. She pays a cleaner $150 a month because she is too exhausted to scrub her own shower on weekends. Add it all up: daycare, commute, taxes, convenience meals. Out of her $85,000 salary, Christine is actually taking home maybe $12,000. $1,000 of real usable wealth a year. That is $1,000 a month. She is trading 40 hours a week of her prime physical years for $1,000 net dollars a month. She is essentially working a highly stressful full-time job for less than minimum wage. But she has the title of marketing manager. The title keeps her ego quiet while the bank drains her accounts. The nice bank manager offered them a line of credit to help with unexpected expenses. He smiled and said it is completely normal for young parents to carry a little debt. He is not your friend. He is a quota-driven salesman putting a leash on your future. I remember looking at my own paycheck a few years ago. I realized I was paying someone else to raise my child. I was paying a stranger to see his first steps. And I was funding this entire tragedy with my own blood pressure and stress. I bought a nice SUV to feel successful on the drive to work, but the car is just a mobile waiting room between my cubicle and the daycare pickup line. I call this the working parent paradox. You work to afford the child you never get to see because you are always working. The system absolutely relies on you not doing this math. Wall Street needs your dual income tax brackets to keep the machine running. Consumer brands need your parental guilt. Guilty parents buy more plastic toys to overcompensate for their absence. They buy the expensive weekend experiences because they feel bad about Monday through Friday. This is a perfectly engineered extraction loop. Do not just take my word for it. Today, I want you to sit down with your bank statements. Calculate exactly how much of your salary actually stays in your pocket after paying to go to work. Take your net pay. Subtract the daycare tuition. Subtract the gas. Subtract the car payment you only have because you need to commute. Subtract the expensive lunches you buy because you have no time to prep meals. The final number is going to terrify you. You will realize you are paying a monthly subscription fee just to be employed. If this video opened your eyes, send it to that exhausted colleague sitting in the cubicle next to yours. The one who is always checking the daycare camera app on their phone during meetings. We need to get out of this hamster wheel together. Comment, enough slavery to break the cycle today. Why is it that you and your partner both work 50 hours a week, but your checking account is always screaming for help? You did everything the system told you to do. You got the degree. You landed the corporate job. You waited until you were financially stable to have a child. But right now, you are drowning. Let us look at a completely normal, exhausting Tuesday. Meet Jessica. Jessica wakes up at 5:30 in the morning. She is already tired before her feet touch the cold floor. She rushes to pack a lunch she will eat cold at her desk. She wrestles her 2-year-old into a winter coat. She straps him into a car seat while he cries because he just wants to stay home with his mother. Jessica feels a crushing weight of guilt in her chest. But she gets in her car and drives 45 minutes in brutal stop-and-go traffic on the interstate. She drops her child off at a brightly colored corporate daycare center. She hands him over to a stranger who is underpaid and overworked. Then she drives another 30 minutes to sit in a gray cubicle. Why does Jessica do this every single day? Because she thinks she has to provide for her family. She makes $60,000 a year. Society tells her she is a successful, independent, working mother. But let us do the math. Let us look at the brutal reality of the numbers. $60,000 a year is not what hits Jessica's bank account. After federal taxes, state taxes, and Medicare, that number shrinks instantly. Let us say she takes home roughly $45,000. Now, let us subtract the daycare tuition. In a decent neighborhood, infant or toddler care easily costs $2,000 a month. That is $24,000 a year. We are down to $21,000. But wait, Jessica has to actually get to work. She spends roughly $200 a month on gas. She pays another $150 for car insurance. She spends at least $50 a week on quick coffees and rushed lunches because she has zero time to meal prep. Let us not forget the professional wardrobe she is required to maintain, and the convenience dinners she orders on DoorDash because she gets home at 6:30 completely exhausted. When you add up the commuting costs, the meals, and the corporate uniform, she is spending another $10,000 a year just to maintain the privilege of holding her job. So let us look at the real bottom line. $45,000 net pay, minus $24,000 for daycare, minus $10,000 for work-related survival expenses. Jessica has exactly $11,000 left over for the entire year. She is working 2,080 hours a year for $11,000. That is $5.28 an hour. Jessica is trading her child's formative years to earn $5 an hour. She misses his first steps. She misses his first words. She spends her days sitting in pointless strategy meetings, listening to a middle manager talk about synergy, all to bring home less than minimum wage. If this number felt like a punch to the stomach, subscribe right now. Here we do not talk about miracle investments or crypto nonsense. We talk about stopping the massive financial fraud you are committing against your own life. This is what I call the employment illusion. You think your salary dictates your wealth, but your salary is just a vanity metric. The system loves vanity metrics because they keep you distracted from your actual cash flow. If you are angry about this math, right? Now leave a like on this video. Anger is the very first step toward building real efficiency. Let us dig deeper into how this trap works. You see, the system does not just take your money. It penalizes you for trying to survive inside it. Think about the famous poverty premium. When you are broke, everything costs more. The UE. Same rule applies to exhausted working parents. Let us call it the convenience tax. Because Jessica has absolutely no free time, she pays a premium for everything. She buys the pre-chopped vegetables at the grocery store that cost twice as much. She pays for Amazon Prime because she cannot physically get to a store. She pays late fees at the daycare when a meeting runs over and the traffic on the highway completely stops. Did you know that daycares charge $1 or sometimes $2 for every single minute you are late? I guarantee you have sat in your car, gripping the steering wheel, sweating as the digital clock on your dashboard changes. From 6 o'clock to 6:05. You are literally watching your money burn while trapped behind a delivery truck. And who is actually winning in this scenario? Is it the daycare worker? No. The woman taking care of Jessica's child is making $14 an hour. She can barely afford her own rent. The winner is the corporate franchise owner who treats childcare like a real estate investment trust. The winner is the state that collects income tax on Jessica's $60,000, completely ignoring the fact that she had to spend $30,000 just to generate it. The winner is the employer who gets a highly educated worker for a fraction of her actual value. They convinced you that staying home is a step backward for your career. They sold you the idea of the dual income power couple. But 50 years ago, one average salary could buy a house, 2 cars, and support 3 kids. Today, 2 good salaries barely keep you out of credit card debt. You are running twice as fast just to stay in the exact same spot. Let us look at David and Sarah. David is a project manager and Sarah works in human resources. They bring home a combined $130,000. They feel like they should be rich, but they have 2 kids in full-time daycare. That is $40,000 a year gone. Poof! Vanished into thin air before they even buy a single bag of groceries. They are financing a crossover SUV they bought specifically because it had a high safety rating for the car seats. That is another $800 a month. They pay a babysitter $25 an hour on a Saturday night just so they can go out and complain to each other about how tired they are. They are trapped in what I call the outsourcing loop. You work to pay people to do the things you would do for free if you didn't have to work. You pay someone to watch your kids. You pay someone to clean your house. You pay someone to cook your food. You pay someone to walk your dog. You are essentially running a small, highly inefficient corporation just to maintain your own household. And you are the CEO who takes no profit at the end of the quarter. The bank manager looks at David and Sarah's gross income and smiles. He happily approves them for a massive mortgage because he knows they are securely chained to their jobs. They cannot quit. They cannot take a risk. They cannot start a business. If they miss 2 paychecks, the entire house of cards collapses. They are the perfect, obedient consumers. Too exhausted to revolt. Too broke to opt out. Too busy to even sit down and do the math I just showed you. I want you to think about the sheer absurdity of this arrangement. You spend your absolute best hours of the day making a company rich. while a stranger spends the best hours of the day raising your children. You are trading your legacy for a direct deposit that barely covers your fixed costs. This is not a mistake in the system. This is exactly how the system was designed to function. They want your children institutionalized early so you can remain a compliant taxpayer. They want you constantly stressed so you buy quick hits of dopamine on the weekends. You buy the expensive vacation because you feel you deserve it. You buy the toys for your kids out of pure guilt because you never see them. You are bleeding out financially through 1,000 tiny cuts. Today, I want you to pull out your bank statements. I want you to be absolutely brutally honest with yourself. Calculate how much of your salary actually stays in your family's pocket after you pay the toll to go to work. Take your net pay, subtract the daycare, subtract the gas, subtract the car payment you only have because of your commute, subtract the rushed lunches and the convenience dinners. The final number is going to shock you to your core. You will realize you are paying a massive monthly subscription fee just for the right to be an employee. If this video opened your eyes, send it to that exhausted parent you know. Send it to the colleague sitting in the cubicle next to yours, the one who is always secretly checking the daycare camera app on their phone during the endless afternoon meetings. We need to get out of this hamster wheel together. Right, I understand the game to signal to the algorithm that you woke up. Why is your checking account always flatlining on the second day of the month, even though you and your spouse both make good money? I guarantee you have asked yourself this question while staring at your phone screen in the grocery store parking lot. You did everything society told you to do. You went to college, got the degree, and landed the corporate job. You married someone who also has a solid corporate job. You are the modern dual-income power couple. So why does it feel like you are always one unexpected car repair away from complete financial ruin? Let me introduce you to Sarah and David. Sarah earns $85,000 a year as an account manager. David makes $70,000 working in logistics. On paper, they are bringing in $155,000 a year. They should be building wealth, taking vacations, and maxing out their retirement accounts. But reality looks entirely different. They just had their first child, little Emma, and now they are trapped in what I call the ghost salary phenomenon. Let us do the brutal math that your friendly human resources manager forgot to mention during your onboarding. Sarah's $85,000 salary gets chopped down immediately by taxes, health insurance premiums, and the mandatory 401k match she cannot afford to pause. Her actual take-home pay is around $4,800 a month. Now comes the invoice from the local corporate daycare franchise. It is $2,400 a month for infant care, half of her actual net. Income is instantly wiped out the moment the direct deposit hits. But that is just the beginning of the fraud you commit against yourself. To buy the privilege of earning that remaining $2,400, Sarah has to pay to go to work. She spends $300 a month on gas for her commute. She pays $200 a month for parking downtown. She spends another $300 on fast casual lunches because she is too exhausted to meal prep on Sundays. And because she works in a client-facing role, she easily spends $200 a month on dry cleaning and professional clothes. Are you keeping track of the math? Sarah is now left with $1,400. But wait, we have not factored in the exhaustion tax. This is the modern version of the poverty premium. Because Sarah and David are burning all their time and energy commuting and working, they have zero margin left at home. They order DoorDash 3 times a week because cooking at 6 in the evening with a screaming toddler pulling at their legs is physically impossible. That is another $400 a month in convenience fees, delivery charges, and overpriced cold food. They buy the expensive pre-cut fruit and the pre-washed vegetables. They hire someone to cut their grass because David is too tired on Saturday morning. When you subtract all the hidden costs of being an employee, Sarah's $85,000 salary shrinks to less than $500 of actual usable cash. For Sarah to keep those $500, she has to abandon her baby with strangers for 50 hours a week. Let me put this in a way that will hurt. To pay the $2,400 for Emma's daycare, Sarah has to sit through 120 hours of passive-aggressive Zoom calls that she absolutely despises. She trades 120 hours of her finite life just to break even on childcare. If that number punched you in the stomach, subscribe right now. Here we do not talk about miraculous stock market picks or crypto fairy tales. We talk about stopping the financial bleeding you accept as completely normal. The biggest lie sold to the middle class is the illusion of the second income. You think you are doubling your household wealth, but in reality, you are just funding a massive microeconomy of businesses designed to replace you at home. You pay the daycare center, the gas station, the takeout restaurant, and the tax man. Everyone gets a piece of Sarah's salary except Sarah. I know exactly how this feels. I have gripped that steering wheel at 5:45 in the afternoon, praying the traffic on the 405 highway clears up. I have felt that knot in my stomach knowing the daycare charges $1 for every minute I am late to pick up my own kid. You race through yellow lights, risking your life, just to avoid a $30 penalty from a facility you already pay thousands to. And the villains here are not just some invisible system. It is the corporate mandate forcing you back into the office for culture when you could easily do your job from your kitchen table. It is the local zoning board that makes opening new childcare centers impossible, driving up the prices of the existing ones. It is your boss who schedules mandatory meetings at 4 in the afternoon, completely ignoring that parents have hard stops. You are penalized for having a family, and you are taxed for wanting a career. And here is the most absurd part of the daycare trap. When Emma gets a fever, the daycare calls Sarah to pick her up. Immediately. Sarah still has to pay the daily rate to the daycare, even though her child is not there. But Sarah also has to burn her own paid time off to stay home with the sick child. She is paying double for a service she cannot even use. This is the caregiver ransom. You are held hostage by the need to maintain your resume. Gap. Terrified that if you step out of the workforce for 3 years, you will never get your career back. So you keep running on the wheel. You keep swiping your corporate badge. You keep handing over your entire paycheck to the daycare director just to keep your seat warm at a job that would replace you in a week if you dropped dead. If you got mad at that calculation, leave your like right now. Anger is the very first step toward financial efficiency. You have to stop looking at your gross salary. Your gross salary is a vanity metric designed by the government to make you feel important, while they quietly extract your wealth. You need to look at your margins. If Sarah quit her job tomorrow, yes, they would lose her income, but they would also lose the daycare bill, the commuting costs, the takeout dinners, the wardrobe expenses, and the crushing stress that makes them buy things they do not need just to feel a hit of dopamine on a Friday night. Financially, they might actually come out ahead if one of them stayed home. But nobody runs the real math. They just keep financing cars to get to jobs they hate to pay for care they wish they could provide themselves. Tonight, I want you to do a simple task. Take your bank statement from last month and highlight every single expense that exists, only because you go to work. Add up the daycare, the commute, the convenience food, the office clothes, and the extra taxes. Subtract that total from your take-home pay. Look at the real number you are trading 40 hours of your week for. The result is going to terrify you. If this video opened your eyes, send it to that colleague who is always secretly checking the daycare camera app on their phone during those endless afternoon meetings. Send it to the exhausted parent who thinks they are the only one failing at this impossible game. We need to get out of this hamster wheel together. Comment, "Enough slavery to break the cycle today."